It's usually a show featuring earnest discussion on the week's hottest topics, but last night's ABC TV's Q&A got more than it bargained for.
This is Q&A, the live and interactive show where you ask the questions.
Or throw your shoes if you feel you're not quite getting through.
Someone please remove that gentleman.
Last night, former PM John Howard fronted up to the ABC, prepared to spruik his new book and dodge the curly questions.
How should you be held accountable for Australian participation in the war of Iraq?
I think the military operation against Iraq by the coalition of the willing was justified.
Get on your dancing shoes.
Peter Gray says he just wanted the world to know not all Australians supported going to Iraq in 2003. Point made, Pete. Even Twitter went off. It's not the first time shoe hurling's made headlines, though, with George W. copying a shoe or two over Iraq himself. Although that guy threw with gusto, while Peter Gray himself admitted...
I throw like a girl.
And on that note, maybe he and John Howard have more in common than any of us knew. And we welcome now the executive producer of Q&A, Peter McEvoy. Peter, welcome to the program. Now, we have to start with, there's been talk all day on radio, some people saying this was a setup. Did you honestly know that this could have been coming?
Well, in fact, some radio announcers even suggested to me that it was all part of some sort of conspiracy. But I have to say, look, no, I didn't know. We say Q&A is live and unpredictable, and I certainly didn't predict this. I wish I was clever enough to have planned a PR stunt like this.
I'm one of your radio conspiracy theorists, Peter, but forgive me because you had this lunatic sitting in the front row. You had a tweet just before he did it saying do it. You had a wide shot on the bloke when he threw the shoes. You've got to forgive us our conspiracies, please.
Well, look, you know, you can have all the conspiracies you like, Steve, but I have to tell you, we didn't know. We invited him to the audience along with 200 other people. People take their seats in the audience in various places. He asked his question. It was actually, you know, a pretty good question about how Mr. Howard felt about the information that had been released in WikiLeaks about the number of civilian deaths and what responsibility he felt for taking Australia to war in Iraq. And then he followed it up with a shoe, but that completely came out of the blue. That tweet that went on the screen wasn't seen by anyone in the audience, including Peter Gray. It wasn't seen by Tony Jones, and it wasn't seen by John Howard. It was just a coincidence.
Peter, I want to get your take on what the punishment should be for the shoe thrower, but first I want you to listen to what Bob Brown believes the punishment should be.
The fact that the guy didn't get his shoes back is probably a very harsh penalty.
So that's about $40 worth of punishment there. Do you think there should be any more punishment than that?
Well, I think to some extent that's up to John Howard and to the police. I'm not sure that, you know, what a punishment's appropriate in these circumstances. We certainly don't encourage people to throw shoes on Q&A. We encourage them to throw questions and to get involved in arguments. Q&A is about words and ideas. It's not about throwing objects. You know, it's not an earnest program. I emphasise it. You know, it's a very exciting and lively program, but it's not a program about throwing things.
Now, it kind of gives you pause for thought, though, that this is an incident involving a former Prime Minister. Perhaps we're a little bit too relaxed about security with television audiences. Afterwards, last night, did you think what could have happened if he threw more than a shoe?
Well, you know, I think we all appreciate the fact that Australia is a country that's relaxed, and we want to keep it that way. We have security, and we don't let people bring weapons into the studio, but we do still let them bring shoes into the studio. Look, you know, we will be looking at security and perhaps reviewing what we do, but, you know, I think our security is pretty good at the moment. And I guess the US Secret Service wasn't able to stop someone throwing a shoe at President George W. Bush, and unfortunately the ABC Secret Service wasn't able to stop someone throwing a shoe at John Howard.
Well, Peter, we hope no one gets any ideas in our audience tonight. Thank you so much for joining us.